Welcome back to Fantasy Forever Revisions. I'm doing something different this time. I'm doing the commentary after recording, so I'm pre-recording. And the reason I'm doing this is because I made a lot of amateur mistakes while playing, and I really got my ass handed to me on enemies that, if you focus, you should do just fine. So yeah, we're gonna try this approach, see if it's an improvement. If not, I guess I could go back to the previous approach, but we'll just see how this goes. So after obtaining the first rune, which is the Rune of Earth, we go back to Lone Tales. And yeah, there's a little bit change of dialogue. They did notice that Mosswood emitted a bright light recently, which was what happened when we obtained the rune. So we're going to return to the church and speak with Pastor William. And if you've seen the movie, you'll know that like each of these areas are divided into chapters, but the game itself doesn't really call them chapters. It just goes right into the next event. So here we go. Sarah wants to talk to William about what happened out in Mosswood, but she doesn't want to tell her friends just yet. And you get rewarded with the bronze ring, which is a nice little accessory to have. And Zahc says, okay, I had enough time with my friends, it's time to go back to the kingdom and get back to business. And Ren's kind of upset about it because he was actually enjoying spending time with his friends, and now he's like, oh, I was just a pest. Alright, well, I'll just walk over here and sulk with my dog. So this next cutscene was all done by the voice actress who does the voice of Sarah. That's Audrey Rael. I owe a lot to her, actually. She picked up the slack from the original actress, who I believe was Allegra Scott. She was originally Sarah, but she had to drop out because of time constraints. So Audrey Rael, who originally did the voice of Medusa and all three of these voices of the kids, as you see right here. And this scene was actually inspired by Tales of Graces, the intro, how there's kind of like a child arc and an adult arc. I didn't want to make full arcs, but I did want a scene that was very similar to Asbel, Cheria, and Hubert, so that was kind of the inspiration on that.
Thanks, Sarah.
But yeah, all three of these voices done by the same actress, and I thought she did really well, so I gave her all the parts. That way, like, they could all just chime in together, and you have young Zahc, who's like the hot-headed leader, young Ren, who is kind of like the quiet introvert, and young Sarah, who's kind of like the older sister of the group. And I'm not sure if the dialogue's actually in the game, but Sarah is the oldest of the three. By a little bit. She's the oldest of the guys. I don't know if there's dialogue in the game that confirms this, but she is the oldest. It's Sarah, then Zahc, then Ren. Ren's the youngest. But it's only by a couple months between Zahc and Ren. So okay, you see that Zahc has that ambition of being a Falcon Knight, and he goofs off with his friends and considers it his training. So yeah, basically that was a little flashback of Zach's childhood when they were kids, the old innocent times before fate tore them apart. And the innkeeper is voiced by Ariel Somerville. She did a very Snow White kind of, I don't know how to imitate it because it's one of the weirdest sounding voices. Very Betty Boop high pitch that I wanted for the innkeeper. Okay, so there's a slight change right here. We can go to the arms shop now, and now we can buy the Falcon Blade. Again, you could buy it early on, but this is around the appropriate time when you should get the Falcon Blade. And my pronunciation is terrible, so it could be Falcon Blade, Falchion Blade. I'm not too good with pronunciations. But here we go. These are sailors who used to serve Captain Rhine. Captain Rhine's in trouble. That's Seth. Seth is voiced by... I actually have a list of like the cast because like I feel bad not giving them credit because they are basically the meat and potatoes of this game. They brought everything to life. Seth is done by Paul Hikari, yes. Paul Hikari did the voice of Seth, who is Rhine's first mate. And Hector is done by Ty Anderson. Ty Anderson is like one of my favorite voice actors that I want to recruit again and again. He's just so reliable. It's not that the other people weren't, it was just like, Ty really set the bar on a reliable voice talent. So if you're looking for someone that like you can count on and will get the lines on time even earlier than you expect, I highly recommend Ty Anderson. Okay, so basically we got some bombs which will help us in Whirlpool, which is our second dungeon. And don't worry, even though you're alone here, none of the enemies should be too much trouble. You do have the Dragon Slash, which can help you out in quite a pickle. You also have Earth Thrust, which has the chance of paralyzing your opponent. So yeah, you'll be fine. I really don't have too many harsh random encounters until a little later. Most of my difficulty comes from the mini-bosses and bosses. That's where the difficulty comes from. And really, if you're not ready, you can always just go back. I don't want to say grind because I do have a Coliseum, which we will see close to the third dungeon. And the Coliseum is basically where I intended all the grinding to happen. To kind of like disguise the grinding. And uh-oh, Zahc tried to leave without his friends and they got ahead of him and they're not too happy.
He was going to leave without a goodbye.
See, Zahc doesn't like getting his friends involved with like very business matters, and he always considers they're tying him down. It's just like, hey, I have duties. This isn't our old adventures of being kids. This is some serious stuff. And they're like, no, we're adults too. We can help you.
Looks like you're stuck with us.
Fine, but can we please get going?
First,
And, oh, my mistake. You actually learn Earth Thrust and, Rock Shatter here. You don't learn it immediately after gaining the rune. That was actually in the original. That immediately once you got the rune, you just learned the spell. But in this one, I decided a little cutscene of Sarah teaching him the spell to kind of like tie it all together because she is the one that uses the runes. He cannot. He just benefits from it because Sarah enhances his weapons with elemental powers. So here we are in the second dungeon, which is Whirlpool. And this is our obligatory water dungeon. And the enemies here have high defense, and there's one in particular that could whoop your butt if you're not too careful. But if you see cracks in the walls, this is Zelda 101, bomb them and you'll get some goodies. Oh, rats, we got a bunch of burrowers this time. Yeah, I don't have too many enemies that transfer levels. Like, enemies that are in Mosswood you really won't find in Evergreen and future areas. They kind of have their own exclusive enemies. And I try to make each enemy as unique as possible, though some of them just kind of have similar patterns. Like, they're just the kind of grunts that you can just burn through and you shouldn't have any problems at all. Now, we just got the vision glasses there. This prevents blindness because the boss of this area can blind you. And that can make things fairly annoying. So you want to equip someone with blindness just so they don't miss as often. And right over there is a blue chest, which contains one of the songs from the songstress Faline, who we spoke with earlier. I believe it was in part 1. She's like the main side quest next to the Coliseum Cups.
Boy, am I glad
This
to see
character is voiced by Bryson Elam, who is doing a Golden Sun dub, which is really good. He hired Quentin Flynn, like the Quentin Flynn, and Mike Pollock does the voice of an NPC in that as well. And it's taking a while because he's doing animated cutscenes in between the game cutscenes for specific scenes. So trust me, it's going to be really cool. But he was nice enough, because I did some voice work for him. He was nice enough to do some voice work for me.
poor Trixie.
And I just gave him this small role because he's a busy bee.
handle this myself.
I love this line right here. It shows that Sarah has some of that
Honestly,
sass,
I think that armor
and
was
it
strapped
really
on too
shows
tight.
that she's
We're here to help.
strong and
Help
doesn't
is
like taking the
exactly
guy's
what we
shit,
need
and
to
she
do.
puts them in their place. Mainly Zach, because Zach, in a way, comes off as he's above this. He's above their childish antics. And she puts him right back in his place. Here we go. These guys have some nasty defense. So you want to be careful. Let's see here. Yeah, they're gonna guard, but elemental attacks are much better to use than just your regular attacks. So we want to use Fireball, which will burn both enemies. We have the stun right here. Yeah, Bubble Blast is something that you don't want to get hit by too often. I'm getting so many interruptions today, it's kind of irking me. Because I don't have as much free time as I usually do, so it's like I just want to record, I don't want to constantly do this over and over again. So I might edit that out, I might just leave it in and wash over it, I don't know yet. There we go, nothing too bad, they didn't use the Bubble Blast too often. And right down here is our mini-boss. Now, don't get too careless here. It can be tricky if you're not careful. We got ourselves a couple sharks. They fight in groups. And if you let them gang up on you, they'll whoop your butt. So you want to take them out one at a time, though it might seem the easier route to take them all out and constantly hit them all. You want to reduce their numbers, so when their turns come, they don't keep smacking the crap out of you.
Get ready. Here they come.
So here we go. And remember, you don't have Zahc in this battle. He's busy trying to fix the lever that's not working. So you have the sharks to deal with. You got Sarah, which is a good thing because she can heal. Luckily, Sarah has fireballs, which she learns at level 5. Yeah, I do most, like, in between parts, I do a little bit of combat and stuff like that just to keep things together. No problem, no problem. Yeah, poisoning them helps, because that means even after they deal some damage, they can take some damage. But you mainly want to focus on one at a time. Or, you can use bombs. Because bombs can whoop their butts. See? So there's some good damage. So, unless you can kill them, like, all at the same time, smack one at a time, excuse me. And you'll be glad you did. Because it's their turn now. And they're being mostly generous. They have Rock Shatter, which really hurts, and Big Bite, which hurts a bit, but not as much as Rock Shatter. They also know Haste, so they can speed themselves up, making their turn happen a lot quicker. But it's okay, we already got rid of one. I'm gonna heal. Yeah, don't just attack the whole time. Please heal. There it is, Rock Shatter. This is gonna hurt! Oh, Sarah's out. Okay, you definitely want to revive Sarah because her fireball is like your godsend in this battle. And yeah, this is much better for me to just talk while watching the already recorded footage. That way I'm not losing my train of thought or selecting the wrong attack, the wrong command to be more specific. So yeah, I know people are kind of iffy when it comes to post-commentary, but that has always been my sweet spot, just because it helps me focus more on what I want to say, and also just, I'm not game grumping, which is called just not playing well at all. And I'm not funny like the game grumps, so, I mean, I have my humorous moments. I'm not gonna say I'm, like, stick in the mud, but, yeah, I'm not that hilarious to where it can excuse bad gameplay. So I try to go by decent gameplay, kind of funny. Strike that little balance there. Okay, and we're down to our last shark. But, don't... Yeah, you want to heal. There we go. Heal everybody, and then let them have it. Uh-oh. Or he'll let me have it. Okay, that wasn't that bad. There we go, that takes care of all the sharks. Level up. Good, 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 but wait! There's more! That's right, there is a second wave of sharks.
Keep them at bay.
Be careful! Because if you spent that whole time wasting all your MP and letting them wail on you just so you could beat them, this round will massacre you. So you kind of want to stay fairly decent in both MP and HP before this round even starts. Otherwise, you're going to spend this entire first round healing up and getting yourself ready for the beatdown that they're about to whoop on you. Same as before, there's nothing different with these sharks. It's just immediately after the other without a rest in between. does increase the tension and the difficulty in the way. It's the same enemies, they're doing the exact same attacks, but because it's immediately after and there's not a rest spot where you're healing up, you have to take your turns and heal in battle. That's where the difficulty comes from. And if you didn't learn Fireball, this is a lot harder, because you can't burn all the sharks at once. Okay, buddy. But same as before, I highly recommend just focusing on one, poisoning one at a time, scratching one at a time, doing whatever you can. If that hits Ren, oh, we're out. Okay, it's alright. We do have some reviviles, so don't count us out just yet. And there we go. We're already down to one shark, so we'll be fine. We just need to revive Ren, almost hit Zach, and let him have it. Give him the old 1-2. Woohoo! There we go. Alright, and Ren just learned Stun. Stun is an amazing ability to have when you're with enemies that fight in groups and hit really hard. You can stun one. That way you only have to deal with one of the big guys.
Now aren't you glad you let us help?
So yeah, Zach's having some trouble admitting that his friends are of actual help. I love that line. There's the Zach we know and loathe. Because Ren can be a little sarcastic. And there we go. Now we got the bridges operating, so we can access new areas of Whirlpool. Here's the Oak Brothers, which is a weapon for Ren. And down... Oops. Yeah, if we go back, we can now access the blue chest to get one of the songs. These are mermen. They're kind of like in the middle difficulty. If you get careless, they can overtake you, but they're not something to really stress about. They're weak to fire, and they do know Bubble Blast as well, but they don't cast it as often as the giant claws do. So we're going to go down and get one of these songs. And if you have the composer key, this is no problem whatsoever. Unfortunately, I got more mermen to take care of. But again, I got the Oak Brothers and Fire Spell, so I can easily dispose of these guys. Yeah, they attack twice, but again, if they're hitting Zach, Zach still has that Iron Pelvis, so not much is happening there. And there we go. We got some contacts, which are basically like vision glasses. They're items that help get rid of blindness. And we have our first song. 3 songs to go. There's one song in each of the following dungeons. So the first song is in Whirlpool, the second song is in the 3rd dungeon, and the 3rd song is in the 4th dungeon, and the last song is in the 5th dungeon. Had a brain fart there for a moment. Oh, see what I mean? They can do water blasts, so don't get too careless and be sure to heal. Or like me, just plow through and say, nah, we'll heal afterwards. Oh no, she got it. She got it. Sarah's on top of things. Atta girl. Alrighty, so we're going to save up here before we take on the boss, and we'll take him on in the next part. Holy merman, Batman.